Welcome to another episode of Unleashing You. In today's episode, I talk with Quinn, the charismatic host of Sincerely Brown Skin, the podcast. While currently holding a career in education, Quinn has also embarked on a mission to empower women from diverse backgrounds. She serves as a beacon of wisdom, inspiration, and self-awareness, illuminating the path for her audience. Quinn's mission began with a single question: who else shares in this journey with me? In a world where everyday women often feel isolated, she swiftly recognized the importance of sharing relatable stories to remind them they are never truly alone. One listener at a time, Quinn is spreading her quick slice of goodness. Today, Quinn shares with us the struggles of taking a leap and acting on a dream that she's had for far too long. And she shares the exact moment when she finally decided to take action on making her dreams a reality. This convo is so inspiring. So let's dive in. Before we begin, I want to make sure that you have the Unleashing You retreat on your radar, because just the fact that you're tuning into this podcast means the Unleashing You retreat is right up your alley. The reason I created the Unleashing You retreat is because as women, we tend to look to everyone else for the answers. We somehow think that everyone else knows better than we do, when in reality, tapping into your own intuition is actually the key to living a happy and fulfilled life. And that's how I've created the career and life I have now, and what we'll teach you how to do during this retreat. An inner shift like this will leave you with tools that you'll use for the rest of your life. This retreat is so much more than a girls' trip. This is a transformation. If I've piqued your interest, I want to personally invite you to join us in Steamboat Springs, Colorado on September 19th through the 22nd. During our time together, we will go through coaching workshops and other deep personal development activities that will uncover aspects of yourself you never even knew. Work like this would take months or years to do on your own, and we're going to get you there in just a few short days. Not to mention, we'll be staying in a gorgeous mountain home, complete with a private chef, so you don't have to lift a finger. If you are ready for a pampering getaway where you can recharge your batteries and feed your soul, send me a message on Instagram or visit acrprofessionalcoaching.com to learn more and reserve your spot. Spots are very limited, so do not wait. And I'll see you in the mountains. Now, let's get on to today's show. Welcome to Unleashing You. This podcast is your permission slip to create success your way. I'm your host, Amanda Riffey, a certified success coach and female business leader who has climbed her way up the corporate ladder. I've been through burnout and back and found the tools to bring fun and enjoyment to my career while creating powerful results and leading in a way that feels authentic to me. This show brings you conversations with women just like you who have created massive success for themselves and are doing it in their own way. We'll hear about their personal journeys of growing their career while still prioritizing the things they love most. If you are ready to be challenged and encouraged to reach your next level, then buckle up, sister, because the road to dreamy success begins here. Let's dive in. Quinn, I am so excited to have you on Unleashing You.
Absolutely. I am excited to be here, Amanda.
Yeah. So we are going to dig into a lot of different things that you do today, and I'm really excited to share your story. And let's just start out with the basics. I know you have had a long and successful career in education. So can you just share with us a little bit about your career journey so far?
Yeah. So education, education in today's world is a very exhausting word, I should say. I think a lot of people are burnt out from it, especially after COVID. But for me, I've been in education for a little over 13 years now. And I started off teaching fashion design and interior design, which basically back in the day, those were your home ec classes, if you will. And now within the last decade, they've become just, actual CTE endorsements. And from there, I just experienced a lot of burnout in the classroom, being one on one in that type of environment, in the bots. So I said, okay, I just want to get out. And so that's when I ventured over to the nonprofit side, still working with secondary education, but more so on a foundation side as far as just partnering with different school districts in the area, and then transitioning to the college side where I worked in a career services department for one of the colleges here. And some type of way, because of restructuring or reorganization within that college, or basically being bought out, if you will, I had to get back into secondary education, which is what I'm doing now. Still working with kids one on one at the district level with several different campuses. And now I'm back on that journey as a true millennial and trying to like, okay, what is the next step? Because I feel like I've learned or done everything that I possibly can in the education field. Now I'm ready for that next challenge. And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now in life.
Yeah. And so I think that's almost the perfect segue to talk about your podcast. So I love listening to your podcast, Sincerely Brown Skin. And I would love, could you just tell us a little bit more about the story of how your podcast was born?
Ooh, that is a loaded question. I mean, truthfully, it started one day a few years ago, even before it actually launched. I had just got out of a very long relationship with someone. And I'm sitting one day at my house and I realized for the first time in a very long time, I had that self realization like, oh my gosh, you are alone. You are single. You are no longer attached to someone. And there was just so many emotions involved with that because I didn't know if that was a good thing, if that was a bad thing. It was just this gray area. And so from there, I realized with this one person over those amount of years, there were so many life experiences that I had to, I guess you can say, journey upon. And it made me think, who else is going through this? It has to be someone else is going through this because, when you look on TV or when you listen to something on the radio or when you're reading something or when you're watching something on your phone, you really don't see that relatability, right? Everyone is putting on this whole facade like, oh, we're happy, we're this, I got this going on. And I was just like, I want to be that voice of reason, that voice of relatability where they can hear my stories, women across the world, no matter what color they are, no matter where they're from, no matter what, what life has brought to them, that they can see, okay, I've been through that or I'm currently going through that. And this is what this looks like. This is what this feels like. And I know like, okay, after I do go through this can be the end result. And so I wanted that to be, I wanted to be that for other people. And so that is where Sincerely Brown Skin, kind of originated. Of course, I sat on it for about 2 years before I actually hopped on it and, stopped being procrastinating about the whole idea and said, okay, you got to do this. You got to do it now or later.
Yeah. And number one, that's just so beautiful. I absolutely love the message of your podcast and just your own personal mission. But one of the things that you said in there was you sat on it for 2 years. And I'm guessing there was just so much inner work that needed to be just really needed to go through to be able to turn that dream into a reality. And I feel like you said, we don't talk enough about those limiting beliefs that come to the surface when we are doing something that makes us vulnerable. And starting something like that is absolutely something that makes us feel vulnerable. We're putting ourselves out there. And so, what were some of those beliefs for you, and just how did you work through those?
Oh, God. It's the fear of the unknowns, the fear of the what ifs, the fear of, will I be good enough? You have this one podcast out of a million podcasts, and you're wanting to think of the whole thoughts of like, will they even listen to me? Do I even have a message to tell? Yes, the people in my inner circle are saying, yeah, girl, you got this. You go do it. You do have this. You're great at it. You encourage me, all this kind of stuff. But sometimes even the people that's closest to you, hearing that from them is not enough. And so that's why I was just like, okay, I got to go get it. I got to go get it. And which leads me to saying, okay, what actually pushed me to go get it? It was a friend guy of mine that pushed me. It was just one day after him knowing that I sat on it for 2 years because of fears, making all of the excuses. Oh, I don't have a microphone. Oh, I don't have a place to record. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how to work, the editing system is just so much. One day he just he was just like, I'm coming over. And I said, okay, for what though? Like there were no plans, to have that. And he's like, I'm coming over, and we're going to go to the store. I said, okay, fine. And so we went to the store. I got in the car. I didn't know where we were going, but we ended up going to Best Buy. And I said, okay, are we shopping for appliances or something? Because he was he was in the market for getting a new house. And I said, okay, I know. Okay, what are we doing? And so we walk over to the checkout, where the area, if you will, where you pick up orders. And he says, well, can you go over there? I have to go check on something at the other part of the store. I said, okay, well, what am I asking for? He said, well, just say my name and they'll know exactly what it is. So I tell them their name for the pickup order, and they bring out this big box, and it's, the Yeti microphone. And I was like, huh. And so, it's like, okay, he was really listening to me. He really believes in me. It was just all of these emotions, and it was great emotions that I have never felt before. And he comes up behind me and he was just like, now you have no reason not to do it. I have the pop filler for you. I have the headphones to go along with the microphone. I got you the best microphone that you possibly can get. There's nothing else that you can possibly need. So what is stopping you now? And I looked at him and I was just like, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so I went home that day, and I can remember recording that first podcast. That was January 22nd, and I put it out like the 24th or 25th. And the crazy thing is, even throughout those 2 years, I knew eventually that I was going to do it, right? And so I was just writing stuff down, writing topics, or even writing out full episodes. And now that I had the microphone, I had all of those episodes already written out, and it flowed so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it funny how we can logic our way out of anything? Like, yeah, well, I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have the time to do this. I don't have, and it can seem so logical,
Yeah.
right? Of just, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You don't have a microphone. So yeah, you can't record a podcast. But when you really dig deeper, like you just said, like it ended up being so easy, of course, to get those things. And so when we dig deeper, it's like, okay, is that really the thing that's holding us back? No, it's typically ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's the fear of the unknown, whether that's starting a podcast, whether that's changing careers, whether that's speaking up for a promotion at work. We can apply that to so many different situations. And we tell ourselves that narrative of, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at this, and it's scary to put ourselves out there in that vulnerable way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even now with being in the podcast almost a year now, there's still moments where, when it's time, well, you set that time aside for that week to write or figure out what you're going to talk about. And there's still those moments where I even feel that fear of, should I continue on doing this? What is my message this week? And then that also that fear of, is anyone even listening to me? You know what I mean? Because even when you looking on Spotify or Apple or, all of the platforms that, will host your podcast, you're not truly able to see the individual listeners. You can see how many people download, but that doesn't quantify to how many listeners it is. And even when you're seeing that number, it can be discouraging a little times. And so that's why you just have to push through. Like, okay, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And one of the ways that I figured that out is when just randomly, it was really a moment, I would say, back in, I think it was like March or April, really down at a very low point with the podcast where I was very much so considering not even coming back. Like I was going to take a summer break, but I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna just say a summer break and be one of those people that just doesn't show back up. And just out of nowhere, I got a direct message on Instagram from someone. I don't even know where she was, but she messaged me and she was just like, I came across your podcast and it brought tears to my eyes because I was listening to about healing after a breakup episode. And it's something that I'm currently going through right now. And hearing how you were able to maneuver through that process allowed me to see that there is sun after the rain. There is a rainbow after it all. The grass is greener on the other side. And it brought tears to my eyes in that moment. I don't even think that she knows that, but it brought tears to my eyes in that moment. But I do remember telling her in that message, like, I really appreciate you saying that because that is the whole purpose of me coming up with this podcast is to reach women, no matter the background, no matter the level or socioeconomic status, just to reach you guys where you are at, to let you know that you are not alone. I'm right here. I'm just like you. I'm just sharing my story. And it's coming from a non-judgment zone. It's coming from a sincere place to let you know, like, hey, I got you. I hear you.
Oh, and thank you for sharing that and just being so vulnerable with that. And to me, that just brings up that feeling of you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's watching you, whether it's truly a podcast or just somebody that looks up to you in your career or in your personal life. A lot of times we don't understand the magnitude of the lives we are impacting through what we do. And when we continue to show up day after day, we are making a difference in this world. So thank you for sharing that. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I wanted to quickly interrupt to invite you to experience the power of coaching on demand. I've packaged up some of my favorite coaching tools and sharing access with you for free. Would you love to discover who you truly want to become 10 years from today, or work through limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from your next level of success? Send me a message on Instagram or click the link in the show notes to access your free coaching tools. Your road to dreamy success begins here. Now, back to the episode. One thing that you mentioned, first of all, what an amazing guy to just be like, hey, here are all of your objections right here. You have no longer anything in your way. And I think in what you said previously, though, was he believed in me and he really believed in me and knew I could do that. And I think when you're trying something new, whether that is starting a side hustle, whether that is jumping into a new career or a brand new job that is just scaring the crap out of you, it's so important to have a support system around you that is going to cheer you on or reach out to you in those moments where you feel like quitting. So what has that support system looked like for you?
So with him, for one, and he's still a support system. Funny story, taking that break over the summer break to just kind of recoup and get myself together and get some new ideas together. And we were in the car one day. It was just a Saturday afternoon, and he just randomly just asked me. He was just like, "Hey, what's going on with the podcast?" And I was just like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, it comes directly to my phone, and I haven't gotten any alerts for the downloads coming through." And I was like, "Wait, so you're actually one of the subscribers like for the podcast?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he pulls up his phone. He was like, "See, I follow you. It comes directly to my phone, and it has not came since like June or the end of May." And I was like, "Oh, I took a break." He was like, "Okay, so when are you coming back though?" And I said, "It'll be in September." He said, "Okay." And so September came around that first Wednesday, and he texted and he was just like, "I love the episode today." know, so it's him, because he does that every week. He'll say, "Hey, I listened to that episode." And so for me, knowing okay, if I don't even do it for myself, if I don't do it for the women that's out there that I don't even know in the world, I have to do it for him, because he's the number one support system that I didn't even know that I needed to keep me going in this process. And besides him, it's definitely a group of three friend girls of mine. When I was talking about the idea, they were always saying, all three of them actually, they will always say, "Quinn, you should have been did something like this." And I was like, "What do you mean?" They said, "Because you are our go-to person. When we do need advice, you are our resourceful friend. And you say it so calmly, like you have an answer for everything." I was like, "Well, I don't have an answer for everything." But they was like, "But no, you really do. And you do have a story to tell. You have experienced so much with that one person in those 13 years." And they said it's stuff that we didn't even know. And even now when they're listening to it, they said that there's things that they didn't even know that was going on that is even uplifting them right now in situations that's going on in their life. So, I mean, you just never know. You never know who is impacted by things, and they don't even know still how they are impacting me to keep going on. And thirdly, and but not least, of course, it's just spiritual guidance. It's just God that's just continuing to give me the guidance, the peace, to keep moving forward with this track. Because I believe one day it's going to take me somewhere. I don't know where, but but for right now, it's those three things.
It is. Yeah. And you're going places for sure. That's on yes, let's get her on this podcast now because she's going to be too famous for me someday. But you're so right in that support system. A lot of times, there's those times, like you said, where we're questioning our own value and our own worth. And when you have those people around you that not only cheer you on, but can actually reflect that back of how they view you, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, I can do this. And again, even if I don't feel in that moment like, okay, I'm doing this for me, but I'm doing this for the people who are counting on me to continue to show up, even when it's hard. So I want to know, what is next for you?
Oh, goodness. I mean, honestly, it is some books. I have, again, it's the same thing with the podcast. It's some books that I have in mind, that I've already kind of planned out. I've began writing them, getting the whole plot system together. The goal is to be a New York Times bestselling author 3 times over.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do that.
That, that is the goal, and I know it's just something in me, like that gut feeling where you feel like you're on the right path. And I know it starts with this podcast. I don't know how it's going to transition into the book writing or anything like that, but I'm leave that up to God and the universe. But that is what's next for me. But before that even happens, what's next is just continuing to just use my voice through my podcast, to just uplift and encourage whoever is willing to listen.
Yeah. And I just think about, the woman listening right now who, is in that career that she loves, right? And probably thought she was going to be in for forever and maybe will continue to be in that career. But there might be that thing tugging at them of like, hey, you're meant to do something more, or, that dream. I listen when people are talking and they say, oh, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I do. Oh, I'll do that someday, or kind of those big dreams that people just brush off to the side. I listen to that because I'm like, that's what they really want to do. Like, that's what they really want to be doing. And so listening to you and just kind of just really seeing how much you light up talking about your podcast, talking about your book, and just trusting that, hey, I don't know how this is all going to work out, but I know it's taking me somewhere because I can feel that difference in my heart and my soul when I'm working on those projects.
Yeah, it's about just trusting the process, and trusting the timing of it all. And I think this has been a learning lesson for me, just starting with the whole podcast, starting it, and then just trusting, how would I say that? The process of gaining listeners and gaining the feedback, and then, just going from step to step to step, because it is a trying thing with your energy, with your mind. And this is just not with the podcast, but with anything in life. You just have to just sit back. And like I tell my friend girls all the time, let go and let God. You can't control every little thing in your life. And when you finally release that power and just say, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to put my best foot forward. It's going to happen the way that it needs to happen. And that's just what I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah. Ah. So what final piece of advice would you have for someone who is listening to this and can really see themselves in your story?
My final piece of advice would be, you have to get to a place to where you are honest with yourself, to where you can really sit across the table from yourself metaphorically and just say, for the first time, I'm going to put self first. Because self, at the end of the day, is all you have. You are going to be standing by yourself in every situation in life. And if you don't take care of self and do what is important to yourself, what's the point of living?
Oh, yes.
That is my advice.
Yes. Okay. So where can our listeners find you if they're listening to this and they're like, I need to connect with Quinn?
Right. So you can definitely find me on Instagram at Sincerely Brown Skin. You can definitely listen on any platform that you can possibly think of. My podcast is there. And within the podcast, on each episode, within the details, there's areas where you can actually click on, if you will, and find where you can email me. And if you don't want to go through all of that, you can also email me at Quinn@sincerelybrownskin.com.
And I'm going to put all that in the show notes so everyone will have the links to be able to follow your podcast, listen to those. And your episodes are really short too. We didn't even talk about that, but like they are quick listens that you can get so much value out of in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I call them the quick slice of goodness. I don't want to be in your ear all day, all throughout the day. No, I just want you to be able to get in and out on your quick drive to work or while you're washing dishes. Just get that quick motivation to get you going to where you need to go.
Yes, absolutely. Quinn, thank you so much for joining us today. I have loved talking with you.
Thank you for having me, Amanda. It's been amazing.
Yes. Let's do it again soon, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you'd like to continue this conversation, connect with me on Instagram and say hello. You can find me at AmandaRiffy_coaching. In the meantime, if you know you are ready to step into your next level of success and want to completely accelerate your personal and professional growth, let's work together. I offer one-on-one and group coaching, as well as on-demand self-study options. There's really something for everyone. To learn more, visit my website at acrprofessionalcoaching.com or send me a DM on Instagram and start a conversation. And don't worry, I truly want all of us to succeed, so I promise I will never steer you wrong. Let's create a career and life you love. Chat with you again soon.